Hi all. For those who don't know me, I'm Stephen Beresnay. I'm an author, a master's level water polo player, queer, and I'm trying to learn how to do a handstand with my CrossFit coach. This year, I was also diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. I don't love the words diagnosed or disorder. I prefer to say I was assessed, and that assessment confirmed that I have an operating system that's different than the majority of folks. So kind of like the difference between Apple versus a PC. For clarity, I was assessed as a level 1 autistic, which is the mildest form of autism, and it does come with a lot of privilege, so I want to acknowledge that. But it definitely includes social challenges, including recognizing or understanding social rules. This struggle with social rules was one of my wait a second moments that eventually led me to realize I am on the spectrum. I was watching an episode of Big Bang Theory, and first I want to acknowledge that Sheldon is pretty universally recognized within neurodivergent communities as a terrible, stereotyped version of an autistic person that's been constructed to be a punchline. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. However, in this one episode, he has a whole rant about the stupidity of gift giving, and I'm going to leave out my own rules for receiving gifts that I think have tyrannized and traumatized my poor family a little bit. But it has also left me with stuff I actually want instead of stuff I have to take to the Goodwill. Anyway, here's that little clip from The Big Bang Theory.
Well, Sheldon, you're his friend. Friends give each other presents.
I accept your premise. I reject your conclusion.
Try telling him it's a non-optional social convention.
Wait, what?
Just do it.
It's a non-optional social convention.
Ah, fair enough.
So the part that I really identified with is this explanation of it's a non-optional social convention, and I identified with Sheldon's reaction and immediate acceptance of this explanation. In fact, when I saw this, it's almost like it made my head explode because I felt like the writers had reached into my skull and pulled that "it's the social convention" line right out of my brain. There have been many instances of me thinking this line or something very similar in my life just to go along and to get along. And I'll share some of those examples in other videos, but for today, I just wanted to share that I identified with this. It was one of the things that eventually led me to realize that I'm on the spectrum as the other things started, piling on top of that as more and more evidence. And it's just an interesting story, I think, to share as I disclose that I'm neurodivergent and I come out of the neurodivergent closet. And down the road, I'll also share how my writing has helped me recognize my own autism. So like there's my time loop romance book, The Time-O-Matician, or in my other books like Generation Manifestation or Queeroes, where I'd written autistic characters without me or my audience even realizing it because they were masking. In The Time-O-Matician, it was very intentional, but in those other books, it was quite accidental. And when I look at my nonfiction book, Gay and Single Forever, I look at some of my stories that I share about myself, and now I look through the lens of my autism and realize it's so obvious now that I was actually writing about being not only queer and gay and single, but also on the spectrum without even knowing it. And one of the things that I'm doing now in the Wattpad edition of Queeroes is I get to write about Troy's, the main character of Queeroes' autism, in a way that I couldn't before. I can be more intentional, but it's still subtle because he is doing a lot of masking. And I'm curious to see how readers react, and are they going to pick up on it? And if so, what are the little clues that they're picking up on? For now, just in closing, I wanted to share a line that I love from the autism community, which is, if you've met one person on the spectrum, you've met one person on the spectrum, meaning we are all so different from each other. The way my autism presents is going to be very different from anyone else's. But I also wanted to share something that my editor for Gay and Single Forever told me when I was writing that book, and he was encouraging me to put more of my own stories into it, and that is that the personal is universal, meaning that the more I share about my specific stories, the more other people will be able to relate. So I do hope that me sharing my unique narratives will resonate with others, even though your stories are going to be different from mine. And I hope to hear your stories as well, because I'm probably going to identify with them, even if I don't fully identify with them. So on that note, namaste and have a great day.